this is Deborah Lyman, and I am choosing to review the evaluation done on handheld devices in the classroom. The first question that I want to address is whether or not this report contained all the necessary sections of a final evaluation report. So in the book I refer to in Chapter 9, the first section it talks about is the summary. Here in the report is an executive summary. In this summary, it gives a little bit of the history of what started the report, and it continues to talk about the results to a slim extent, what have they found. Then it moves on to a table of contents. In the introduction, the report addresses several things. First, it talks about what the purpose of the evaluation was. Who is the audience? It talks about why the task was undertaken in the first place, and really goes into some details about how the teachers were selected, who were in the program, as well as the design methods and the research used for the whole evaluation. The next section is background information. I found this to be very interesting. It was broken into a couple different sections. It was broken a little bit into how teachers used it, how it was integrated, and some different ways that teachers could be successful based on the evaluation. Each of these sections, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, had some details about the history of the teachers that they were being evaluated, whether it was students who had special needs, whether it was a diverse classroom. So the history of the evaluation, the background information, is scattered throughout, but it's in a very common sense way. It makes sense to have the background information where it is. The description of the evaluation study is found throughout as well, but the most predominant place where it discusses what they did is in the research and design methods found in the introduction. This is where it talks about the methodology of the evaluation. It talks about the model they used, and it was clear that it was written before the evaluation started and then put in so that they were able to follow that methodology. The results are in the last chapter. They have a chapter devoted to the conclusions and the implications. So what does this evaluation mean? Where do we go with it? One thing that was surprising to me was that in the conclusions, the recommendations, I was surprised at how many personal opinions there were in the evaluation. I really thought that evaluations were all about using your unbiased mind as much as possible. And what I realized was that although they were unbiased in the evaluation, as they did the evaluation, there were lots of personal opinions and personal ideas, and I realized that's what the conclusion is. For some reason, I didn't see the evaluation method as making recommendations, no matter how much we had talked about that in class and how much we'd looked at that. For some reason, until I looked at this final report and started evaluating it, I really hadn't thought about the fact that after I make an evaluation, I have to actually make a recommendation. This is what I would do. And I suppose that depending on what you're evaluating and the purpose of your evaluation, that maybe some of them really don't want a recommendation. They just want the facts and what you saw. But it was interesting to me how much of this really is how you see it working and what your personal opinion is based on the facts. I felt like the evaluation methodology was very sound in this. As I was looking through the different pages, I noticed that in the cases they described why the teachers were chosen. The introduction is very clear. You know, the aim of this report is to provide research so that people can make informed decision. And that's exactly what it is. They chose teachers who had been awarded for their use of technology in the K-12 schools. So they were using people who had already proven that it worked, and we're looking at that and seeing what they were doing to make those work so that they could make those recommendations to everybody. So I felt like the methodology was very sound. I didn't see anything in there that indicated to me that their sampling was biased or that it was selected sampling. I felt like they were very clear up front that the people who were evaluated were people who are already successfully implementing personal education devices and electronic devices. This was very easy to read. However, it was long. And I'll be honest, I didn't read it word for word. It was 82 pages, and that was really surprising to me that a report would be that long. It felt more like reading a book or a research journal, the entire journal. So it's interesting to me that it was so long. However, the way they have it set up was very easy to read. It was easy to follow, easy to understand. I just don't think I'd ever choose to write one that long, but that's coming from my finite mind of I'm only doing this little small evaluation that's only lasting a couple months. So I imagine if you get into an evaluation that is taking a year or 2 years to evaluate, then you would probably have a lot more information. And 82 pages probably isn't totally unreasonable. It just surprised me. So something I am learning about these evaluation reports is that there is really no set format. There is the areas that should be in there. There's the summaries, the methodology, and all of the things that were talked about earlier. However, when I looked at all of these different reports, each one of them was set up differently. So it was interesting to me that an evaluation report isn't part A, part B, part C, part D, part E, part F. It can be written as a narrative or it can be written as an outline. So that was something that was really shocking to me. I don't know why. I don't know why that surprised me. I don't know why that's something I'm learning about this. It just was interesting to me that each one of them was set up different. I think I'm a very concrete person. I like, okay, step 1, you do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Step 4, do this. And that's not how the evaluation reports worked. So suggestions to make the evaluation better. I wouldn't say that I saw anything to make it better. I would make it shorter. I feel like anybody who's picking up this report, as a teacher, I don't have time to read 82 pages of a report. I want to know quick, down, dirty, what's good, what's going to work, what isn't going to work. So my only suggestion here is that finding a way to make this shorter. If I want to read all the research and everything that was happening step by step, I think that I would go to that. But for as far as just picking something up and saying, here's my recommendations, I would think that something shorter than 82 pages. However, the 82 pages that they put in didn't seem to be too much for what they were doing. They were able to organize it, make it very clear what was where. The table of contents made it very easy to figure out where I could find all of the information. So the recommendation to make it shorter may or may not work. It would depend on who the person who wanted the report was. But in the introduction, when it talks about this report was made for teachers to be able to use the information to make decisions, I can just say as a teacher, I'm not going to read an 82-page report on something unless I'm really excited to use it. So that was my evaluation of this evaluation. I just kind of looking through that. I enjoyed looking at all of these reports. I think it gives me an idea of where I can go with my report. And that's about it.